Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please ignore the fact that I am missing a good portion of my voice today. This last weekend has been pretty rough on my voice. I don't know if it's because I've been filming so many videos and then I went out for a minute and then I stayed out for a minute and it just kind of stressed my voice. I'm not usually the type of person who has a sensitive voice box. I can talk forever. I'm ruled by Mercury after all because I'm a Virgo, but I guess the stress of it all has kind of worked to break down a little bit of my normally strong voice. So if you are wondering why I sound a little raspy at some points and why my voice might crack every once in a while, that's one of the reasons. Although I do feel like my voice is getting stronger. This week, we have to talk about the transits ahead. I was looking at the chart last night while I was looking at some custom orders for my clients and just kind of critiquing and perfecting some things that I was whipping up for some of my clients with their personal beauty butters and their intention oils. And I was looking at the charts because I wanted to compare what was going on in the cosmos with what was going on in one of my clients' life at that time. And when I was looking at the chart, I said, oh goodness, this week is going to be a doozy in a good way. So there's a few things that I definitely want to talk about, and I kind of have to take a few steps back a little bit before I take all the steps forward because the largest part of me wants to kind of run forward and my head is so scattered because I'm excited, because there's many things that I find so important that we must discuss. So obviously, I'm not the only one excited because there's an alarm going off in my neighborhood right now. Actually, it sounds like it's gone. But okay, so this week, we are still starting really strong with this Pisces New Moon that happened on Saturday. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. And this new moon, when I was looking at it, was so interesting because a lot of the personal planets, so moon, well, not moon, Venus, Mercury, well, Uranus isn't a personal planet, but a lot of the planets are crowded in the sign of Aries. And Aries is really all about initiating. But this new moon happened in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is very like receptive in a lot of ways and ethereal. And the energy around us is kind of has been for a little while kind of this like push-pull, and we feel this drive and ambition kind of motivating us and stirring us. It's almost the visualization that I'm getting lately is kind of like these seeds that have been planted that are just starting to come to life. And it makes a lot of sense because we're entering into the springtime. But since October, and if you are an old friend to the channel, you know that I've been, saying October. October was when a lot of things started breaking down and happening for a lot of us. But since October, we really have been in a space of complete transformation in our lives, whether we liked it or not. And with that, our bodies are stressed, our spiritual selves are stressed. We're seeing things happening around us that we can't control. We're seeing things. A lot of us are getting like blockages. We see good things happening, but then it like requires a lot of us. We kind of have to like do this in order to get this. And it kind of like, it's like this rat race. It's like this wheel. On the flip side, there's some people who are in like a desert land where they're looking around and they're like, what the hell's going on? That's because there's things that are putting themselves into place for our future. So that's why intention and focusing on manifestation, what it is that you truly want, is so important. And that's what we are working through. Starting in October, we had to really kind of strip away these old shells, these old belief systems, these old fears and insecurities, and then refocus on what it is that we truly wanted. And we had to look out on the horizon and look big in order for us to really see what could potentially be out there without limiting ourselves with what we think is out there, because we're only human beings and there's so much that we don't even know. So, and then from there, we had to step into a space of faith. Now, the planets are crowded in the sign of Aries, and Aries is all about I am. Aries is the first sign within that starts the entire zodiac, and Aries is very much self-focused. It says, I need to do this. This is what I want. I am this. I am strong. I am power. I am capable. Aries takes, sorry you guys, the alarms. I live right in the middle of Center City, so the alarms are going off right now, and I hope everyone's okay. But okay, we'll set intention that everyone is good. wherever they're headed. But Aries is all about initiating and self-starting. And with that, you know, and this new moon in Pisces, I was seeing that a lot of people, it's like their radar, they need to be way more receptive and way more open. And what I didn't want was for my viewers and my followers on Instagram, anyone a part of the BehatiLife tribe community, to spend too much time logically trying to figure things out. Because not everything can be logically figured out. Not everything is designed for us to logically figure out, because it limits us. God gave us intuitive gifts for a reason, and we have to, in a lot of ways, use that. And what Pisces does is it puts you into a space where you really do have to rely more on your intuition and look at the signs. And then instead of trying to piece it together, just kind of honor your feelings. And that's what Pisces was trying to do. Now, the new moon happened on Saturday, and that was on the 17th of March, 2018. But during that dark moon time, what you really should be doing, and what I was nudging people to do, was to take that time to go seriously in their sacred space and not isolate themselves, but pull back for a moment to reconnect. And the image that I get is an ocean or a lake. And that makes a lot of sense too, because Pisces rules those large bodies of water. Now on the surface, it does look like things are still, or even if there's huge waves. But underneath that all is something deep and profound. And the more that you dive into that, and the more that you allow yourself the space to experience that, the more that things become clear. And when things become clear, you can see, you can feel, you can hear, you can taste, all of the senses, and intuitively know what it is that you need to do next. What I don't want is for any one of my members of the BehatiLife tribe community to just continue powering through. Granted, I realize that the majority of you guys are highly passionate people, that when you want something, you do go after it, and I'm the same way, and I can relate to you on that. But there is a moment where you really do have to collect yourself. You really do have to collect your thoughts. You really have to connect with yourself, because as much energy as you have, and as intuitively that as you know that there's something on the horizon, you still have to realign to it. You still have to connect to it. And that's what the Pisces new moon gave to you, was that chance to gather yourself before it was off to the races. And that's kind of what it is that we're walking into now. And that's another reason why I'm so excited about this chart and this week and what's ahead of us. So looking at the chart and looking at the new moon, I'm thinking that on the 17th, again, that this was a moment for us to meditate and for us to ground ourselves, to center ourselves, and to reconnect. Then when we know, and we started getting those hunches and those signals, and I was telling you guys, work your sleep magic, work, your dream magic, work that type of being open to what, the universe has for you, the divine, God, angels, and guides. And it comes to you in your sleep, in your dreams. And it just becomes, I can look at the chart and see, what type of magic and manifestation can work best for the majority of us by working with what's going on in the cosmos. And the biggest thing that I saw is working with the ocean and also sleep and the dreams and what comes to you within your dreams. So I was telling a lot of people, create a sleep oil, or if you don't know what you're doing, or if you want something really powerful and potent that's created for you, you can always visit my shop, BehatiLife.com/shop, and I have the prophetic sleep oil within my shop that I created specifically for purposes like this. But reconnect with your dreams. In fact, last night I did this for my own self, and set the intent before I went to bed that while I slept with this oil that I, put on my third eye and on the rest of my body, that while I slept, the messages that I needed to hear would come to me. No matter how difficult they were, I wanted to see and feel and know and hear exactly what I needed to hear, so that as I move forward, I would recognize it and see it and know that I was on the right path, but also make right decisions to keep me on that right path. So hopefully you did that on the new moon. For those of you guys who are brand new to the YouTube channel, welcome. Don't feel like you've missed out. You still have time to do this now. But I'm seeing now, it's the 19th that I'm filming this video, I'm seeing now that this is a good time to start spurring yourself into movement and action. And again, this is because, You know, the personal planets are crowded in the sign of Aries, and Aries wants to move. Aries wants to start. Aries has this energy of emboldening us. Is that the right word? It makes us, Aries is ruled by like fire, and it's like this powerful, I don't want to say explosion, but it's this powerful buildup of energy that's ready to go and has been ready to go for a while. It's like, oh, my battery's about to die. It's like a spaceship kind of revving its, you know, turning on its rocket powers, and then it's like that rumble, and that build up. So this week, what I'm seeing, especially since on the 17th, Mars, the planet of drive and ambition, moved into the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn loves the shit out of Mars, and Mars loves the shit out of Capricorn. Pardon my French. But basically what this does is if Mars is in a position that it's really, really strong, then that means that we need to be more bold. We need to be not aggressive, but more forward and build up on what it is that we truly have been working to build since October. The issues that we've been dealing with since October. Last night when I sat with myself for a moment, and, you know, worked with my sleep oil and worked with my angels and my guides, and most of it was for myself, but of course I always channel messages for you guys too, because I love you guys. But this message came through that said, look, the things that you were dealing with, you know, prior to this moment right here, right now, it was a part of your karma. It was a part of the things that you had to experience in order to get you to where you're at right now. Now that you've experienced it, now that you've grown as much as you possibly can grow, now it's time for you to connect and it's like a union, a reunion here on life with the exact things that it is that you deserve, and the things that it is that you need, and the things that it is that you've been waiting for. It's almost like we're born into this world with karma. And we know that on a spiritual level, on a soul level, because we chose this body. So we chose this life on a spiritual level. Our souls chose this body and this life. It's like a karmic contract. And we live this life, and we know that we're going to experience these problems. And the body and the soul says, okay, this works for me. I'm going to live this out. So we go through these trials and these tribulations, and they break us down and they build us up. And when those contracts are all fulfilled and we hit those check boxes, then finally it's like a reunion to things that we knew that our souls already said yes to before our physical bodies even knew that there were some things that were going to come to us. That's why we can't logically seek answers to questions that only our spirit and our soul knows. Like, really take a moment and let that sink in. So that's what I'm seeing here is it's a reunion now. And those things at this start of, you know, the new zodiac calendar, as the sun and Venus and Mercury and Moon and Aquarius and Chiron are moving through the sign of Aries, now it really is about focusing on you and what you want and who you are and what makes you feel powerful and what makes you empowered. Mars then actually rules Aries, but Mars ruling Aries is in the sign that exalts it up and supports it. So Mars is strong AF. Mars is whipping and doing and committed and ambitious and in it for the long haul. Mars will not burn out. Mars will keep going even when it's, you know, everyone else is far behind. Mars has a purpose and doesn't slow down. And with Mars ruling Aries and all those planets crowded in Aries, that's where our energy is at. It says, look, we're ready. And what I don't want is for people to feel defeated from the things that have happened up until this moment, because as much as we maybe don't understand it in that moment, it was definitely for a reason. Let me pause this really quickly so I could charge my phone, because I feel like my battery is going to die out really, really soon. And the last thing I want is to pause my message and keep you guys waiting and then just completely forget, because I always have to write down my messages in the moment or I will completely lose them. Be right back. I grabbed my phone charger and a gummy bear. So hold on 2 more seconds. Okay, sorry about that. I just got these gummy bears that I've been really loving, and I wanted to take a quick break while I had the moment. But moving forward, the next thing that I wanted to talk about and that I noticed while looking within the chart is the fact that Mercury ruling communication and Venus ruling love and relationships are still holding hands and skipping through the sign of Aries. Now, I know that's kind of a weird image, but you guys know that that's how I kind of look at the charts, and how I look at within my tarot readings is I look at what's going on and I just get like a visual or a picture of it. And I've been saying and watching these two for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and they really are giving me these vibes of like brother and sister, Hansel and Gretel. Venus is not her strongest when she's in the sign of Aries, which is where they're currently transiting. Mercury does his best, but the two of them together work really, really well together, and I love that. I love that they have each other. So Mercury rules communication, and again, Venus connects us to love, beauty, aesthetic, and money, and our values. And this week, they meet up again right before Mercury decides to go retrograde. So at some point, Venus is going to say, look, you know what? Thank you so much, brother, for the time that we spent together. I feel like I'm scared, but I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to leave you so that I can do what I need to do and you need to do what you have to do. Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 22nd, which is a Friday. No, it's not. I think it's a Thursday. Mercury is going to go retrograde on that Thursday, the 22nd, and then he's going to take some steps back. Who knows? Maybe he left something behind in the woods as they were skipping together. Maybe there's things that he needs to revisit, but he serves a purpose. He reminds us that there's certain things that we need to kind of revisit within our lives, and we need to accomplish and reassess in order for us here on Earth to serve our highest and greatest purpose. And that's the gift of Mercury retrograde. I think that the internet doesn't really like to take time to think about the good that these planets... Sorry guys, my video got interrupted by a phone call. But anyways, moving forward. So, yeah, Mercury, the internet likes to take certain things and make them bigger and badder than what they are. But every single planet has a positive, and every single planet has a negative, and that includes when they go retrograde. And I always looked at Mercury retrograde as such a blessing, because we really have been doing so much as we move forward, and doing what we think is best for ourselves, and really honoring what the universe has been trying to tell us and trying to reveal to us. Sometimes we ignore it. Sometimes we try to figure it out. Sometimes we don't want to swallow that pill, or sometimes we're scared, or whatever the case may be. But Mercury is that moment, that chance to kind of take a step and look back and to fix what was broken, and maybe potentially go back to what we just like left. The things that we have just, in maybe missed opportunities, or old emails that got lost have a tendency to kind of resurface. Exes that, we didn't work out the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or the fourth, or the fifth time, but they have a tendency to come back into your life and try for round 6 or 2, or let's be honest. So in that moment, it's up to you to decide, is this right for me? Does this feel good? Is this something that I want? And remember, Venus is moving through the sign of Aries, and Venus loves to love. But when she's in Aries, and Aries rules I am, she has to think about herself. And that's why she's not completely comfortable in the sign of Aries. That's one of the reasons why she's not completely comfortable in the sign of Aries, because even though she loves attention, she also loves to love. She also loves to give. So you then have to look at what the universe presents you and make an assessment based upon what is for your highest and greatest good. That includes everything. That includes jobs, that includes relationships, that includes old lifestyles or old opportunities, or maybe old projects that you've been neglecting. But either way, the planets don't have names to them. They just show energy. They just show potential. For example, one of my long-term clients reached out to me, and she's buying a house, and she said, Jess, you know what? Emergency. I really love this house. Should I get this one, or should I get another one? Is this a good time for me to purchase a house in this moment? And I can look within the chart and see that there is really truly strong potential for her, and good luck with her buying the house. In fact, the chart was, with the new moon in Pisces, it was actually highlighting the fact that there was going to be a large purchase that she was going to make. And but you can't look at the astrology chart for the most part unless you're pulling a horary chart and say, okay, this is the house that you need to choose, or this is the house that you need to choose, because those houses, aren't ruled by specific planets. They're ruled by, the same planet. And the two houses aren't separately labeled within the chart. I hope that makes sense. So ultimately, when we're doing charts like this, you can look at the potential and see, like, okay, yes, this is a great time, but also you have to factor in your own intuition and your heart and what it is that you want, and then decide from there. Because you are the biggest decision maker of your life. You are the CEO of your own life. You are the power player. You call the shots. So those are things to be very much aware of when you're looking at the chart. On the day of the 20th, and even though this is exact on the 20th, there is a buildup of energy that is taking place. So I feel throughout this entire week, we're going to see the benefit of Mercury and Venus working together. And energy is so loving and so sweet and so supportive. Remember, Mercury and Venus together are like the Hansel and Gretel. They're like brothers and sisters, and grew up in the same household. I'm just making this story up. This is like, a little imaginary story that I'm coming up with. But they live in the same household, and they understand each other very well, but they're very different. They're like twins with different personalities, and they understand each other. So again, Mercury is going to take some steps back, and Venus is going to move forward. And throughout this entire time, you have to make decisions, ultimately, what is right for you and for your heart. And hopefully, like I said before, you took the time on the new moon to kind of reconnect and to go into your little dark hole or your sacred space, or into the ocean, or into your bath water, and spend some time to kind of sit down and reconnect with your heart, your soul, and your vibes, and what it is that you want. On the 20th, I can actually see some news coming in, some messages coming in, some love letters. Maybe someone's getting some money. I don't see it as a whole lot of money, because Jupiter is retrograde right now, kind of dialing down the large scale of certain stuff, of things. But it's possible that someone can get a nice little bonus check during this time. Also, officially, the sun moves into the sign of Aries. And with that, again, this starts a new cycle. Like I was saying before, with all the planets kind of crowding in here, the sun rules our life energy, and this is when we really do start taking initiative and starting fresh, and it really is like a new beginning. In the astrological chart, this day is kind of like the new year that a lot of us celebrate on January 1st, 12 a.m., at least in the United States. And this is the time for us to kind of cleanse and to sage and remove any type of energies and start fresh and start forward. Pisces, again, was that last new moon. Even though the new moon symbolized this new beginning in a lot of ways, it was that last kind of reflective period before we move into this new beginning. And again, like I said in the very beginning of this video, that before we kind of like go off to the races, we do need to take some time to reflect and to realign. And the best way to do that, to make sure that we're on the right path, is to connect with our intuition. The 22nd, Mercury goes retrograde. I think I have a video about that, about Mercury retrograde in general. If I will try to look for it and link it down below. If I don't have that video, I'll definitely shoot it, because Mercury retrograde is one of those highly requested subjects that we should talk about. Moving forward, I don't want this video to be so aggressively long, is the fact that, moving forward, on the 23rd, Venus squares off with Pluto. To me, this is highly concerning. Pluto is sitting in the sign of Capricorn. Venus is in the sign of Aries. Again, Venus is not her best, and Pluto is doing his best to kind of destroy and remove structures that don't need to be in our lives. And when Venus and Pluto square off, we really do have like power struggles and issues when it comes to love and relationships and understanding. People, it's almost like a power struggle in a lot of ways. People can kind of lose their minds. I'm going to say that. They kind of lose their minds in their obsession or their passions, and they have a difficult time controlling themselves. And when you have the planets crowded in the sign of Aries, people are a little too bold and too confident sometimes. So, and they're only thinking about themselves. So even though, you know, let's say there's something that they love, they can be a little aggressive with going after it to the point where they're not taking things into consideration. In a lot of ways, it can be completely problematic. I've even seen this as, you know, stalker situations, people like kind of being too obsessed or too connected and having a hard time letting things go. And that's because Pluto rules that intensity. And then when you factor in the heart, you have a mess in a lot of ways for some people, but it is what it is. For others, this can trigger feelings within yourself, those deep, dark demons that you have that you know, maybe don't talk about or maybe don't even realize, and they kind of resurface. So this can create issues of, you know, not feeling loved or feeling like you have to do a lot in order to get attention or to get affection or whatever the case may be, and those feelings can really resurface. So I don't want to give advice and tell anybody what to do when this does happen, because everyone's healing is totally different, but I just want you to be aware. And this is happening this week around the 23rd, but I can see this energy starting to build up around the 20th and then moving into the weekend. So just be a little aware of that. And finally, another problem that I see for this week, at the very end of this week, is on the 24th. The sun squares off with with Mars. I can't, the word that came to me with this, and I hate that this came to me, I don't hate it, but it makes me like worried, is the fact that the word was self-hatred and frustration. I had to write them down because I didn't want to forget while I was looking at the chart. And basically, when Sun squares off with Pluto, it actually doesn't equate to that all the time. Most astrologers don't even like put that together, self-hatred with Sun square Mars, but I do. I'm looking at the chart right now, and that's the first thing that kind of stood out to me is this, like, if it's not self-hatred, it's kind of like frustration or just built up frustration over time, and that energy kind of combusts itself. So, and if someone is dealing with self-hatred, or if someone is dealing with things that they don't like about themselves, then this can really spill over and become highly, highly destructive. And Mars rules our ambition, Mars rules action, but it also rules war. And Sun rules our life energy. And when Mars and Sun square off, it's too much. It can, you know, it's like taking a sword and just kind of, you know, like it's that soldier who's been through way too much, who's fought a lot of battles, and then sometimes in the dark of the night or within even the daytime, you know, frustration builds up and it explodes over, and all that power, all that energy, all that frustration that's been built up, it goes somewhere. Where does it go? Sometimes we punish ourselves and we don't even realize that we're punishing ourselves because we mask it under this facade of being productive or constructive or whatever it is that we're working on, when in reality what we're doing is we're breaking ourselves down. And I want you guys to be very much aware of that. That's going to be this weekend. That energy starts and is going to be the strongest on the 24th. Hold on, let me move this back. That's going to be the strongest on the 24th, and we're going to feel that moving into the week because the sun moves really slowly and Pluto barely moves at all. That being said, I did, of course, pull some cards for you guys. And again, it's kind of what it is that I was seeing before, and that what it was that I was talking about with the devil here. And that connects me to the 23rd, when Venus squares off with Pluto and that level of obsession. And, oh, God, and I forgot this guy. Of course, he was hiding behind this card. I didn't even realize that he was there. But it's just being aware of hurts, aches, and pains. And again, the things that have been going on in our lives, we have to go through them. Remember, like I was talking about before with like karma and being here on Earth and agreeing to this contract, agreeing to the life that is that we live. Our soul agreed to it before our physical bodies even knew. So there's certain things that you have to go through in order to reconnect and to realign with what it is that your soul has for you. And with that, that means that there's some things that may be difficult to let go of. There may be old habits or old people that haunt us and, and hurt us and create pain and suffering and struggling. There might be messages and words that still need to be expressed. What I don't like is the fact that all of these action cards seem to come from this place right here. Now, I don't see the Devil card as a negative card always. You want to always look at the cards surrounding to see what type of energy this card brings. And just the fact that he's supported by the Three of Swords and the Page of Swords and the Knight of Swords shows that there might be some information, some messages, and some things said that could be really hurtful or difficult for the mind to process. And when I'm looking at the astro chart for this week, I just want you guys to be aware. The last card that jumped out was actually the Two of Swords. Now, granted, the planets are moving forward in Aries, and they're all about, drive and ambition and chopping down any type of obstacles in order to move forward with our goals and starting fresh. But also, we still are under the influence of the Pisces New Moon. And with that, those still waters, there's still a lot that's kind of revealing itself and making itself known. And with that, it's almost like you want to take a moment to still kind of reflect and to take some time for yourself before you make decisions, before you make power moves, unless you really truly know that this is something that is right and it feels right. Don't do it if it doesn't feel constructive or if it doesn't feel positive, even though the planets are pushing you forward. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Don't look at this as such a bad thing. Just look at it as something to learn from and to be aware of so that you can at least know what it is that you're working with. The one thing, too, that I see is the fact that the hurts are here for a reason, to teach us and to guide us. And when we sit down with them for a minute and we look at them honestly, we grow from them. But if we don't take that time and we power through and pretend like they don't exist, or like we're not hurting, or there isn't something that doesn't confuse, that is confusing us, or whatever the case may be, you create problems for yourself. Because Aries actually rules war and battle. And what I don't want is for my clients to turn that battle on themselves. Now, keep in mind that if you are in a space where you have connected with yourself and you know what's right, and you're focusing on your happiness, make those power moves, because also this week, the natal node is being aspected and the vertex point is being strongly aspected, and Chiron. And Chiron is about the wounded healer. Chiron's still in Pisces trying to heal those old wounds. Vertex is things that are fated to happen. Natal node is where we're, have to strive and destined to go and destined to be. And those things don't always make sense. But if you have connected with yourself, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. All right, my loves? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you shortly with some more videos. Talk soon. Bye.